I'd like to thank SUMASure for sponsoring SUMA's webinar program. Because of their sponsorship, webinars are free to all SUMA members. SUMASure is the insurance and risk solution provider of choice for 241 Saskatchewan communities. Interested in learning more about how SUMASure supports Saskatchewan communities? Visit sumasure.ca. Today's webinar, Empowering Municipalities, Welcoming, Integrating, and Engaging Newcomers, panelists will discuss the importance of community engagement and social connection in helping newcomers thrive in their new communities. They will also cover how attracting, welcoming, integrating, and retaining newcomers can lead to a more prosperous, dynamic, and resilient local community. Our esteemed panels of speakers includes representatives from municipalities, ministry, nonprofit organizations, immigrant support groups, newcomers, and individuals with firsthand experience in welcoming newcomers. I'd like to start by introducing our moderator for today's webinar, Lovely Jane Magnay. She was born and raised in the Philippines and traveled across the world and found Saskatchewan as her new home. Prior to moving to Canada, Lovely had completed a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication and was on her third year in law school. In 2014, she started her career in municipal administration as the administrative assistant with the town of Wadena and has since completed a local government administration certificate and standard certificate. She's also certified in asset management planning and is currently working towards her advanced level 1 certificate. Lovely is currently the Assistant Administrator for the town of Wynyard, the President of the Wynyard and Area Filipino Association, Executive Assistant for the Urban Municipal Administrators Association of Saskatchewan, also known as UMass, the Energy Measures Coordinator for the town of Wynyard, the Treasurer of St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church in Wynyard, and the Chairman of the Municipal Immigration Network under the CED Committee of SUMA. Immigration is a topic that Lovely is passionate about, and she fits into her very busy schedule. She hopes to help welcome immigrants to help them adapt and stay in their hometowns. I'm now going to pass it over to Lovely to introduce you to our first group of presenters. Welcome, Lovely, and thank you for agreeing to moderate today's panel.
Thank you, Steph, and welcome everyone. I've attended several webinars in the past, but this is my very first time as moderator, so please bear with me. To start with, I would like to introduce the presenters from Prairie Skies Integration Network, the local immigration partnership in South Central Saskatchewan with a hub in Moose Jaw. Delis Hector, project manager for Prairie Skies Integration Network. Delis began her career in the settlement and integration field in 2010 at the Moose Jaw Newcomer Welcome Center. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from Rare Crest College and has pursued continuing education in international community development and project management. Delis is a lifelong learner who works to develop her abilities through informal education opportunities daily. With a sharp focus on collaboration and community development, Delis is especially passionate about newcomer community integration and leveraging social, organizational, and financial capital for greater community cohesion. Another presenter is Jide Kazim, Assistant Project Manager for Prairie Skies Integration Network. With several years' experience in the information technology and consultancy sectors, Jide is a proven specialist in administration, project management, and IT services. As a networking-oriented professional with expertise in working with diverse people, Jide has collaborated with various partners and stakeholders to achieve desired goals and targets. He is passionate about providing support to all and sundry, and this led him into joining Prairie Skies Integration Network to offer his wealth of experience in project management, communications, and work relations to enhance community newcomer integration in South Central Saskatchewan. Jide relocated to Canada from Nigeria with his wife and their 3 sons in 2018 and have since called Moose Jaw their new home. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Delis and Jide from the Prairie Skies Integrated Network.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our presentation on building tomorrow's vibrant communities. Here you can see the 3 of us, also including Ariel from the town of Gravelbourg, and we are very excited to present to you today. Did you know that almost a quarter of Canada's population is made up of immigrants? In 2021, according to Statistics Canada, 23% of the population were immigrants at some stage of their journey. Canada's population continues to age, and fertility is below the population replacement level. Thus, immigration is the main driver of population growth. If these trends continue, immigrants could represent from 29 to 34% of Canada's population by 2041. Not only are immigrants an important population driver and critical to Canada's labour market, but immigrants also bring cultural diversity and innovation, ultimately bolstering the vitality of our communities. Welcoming communities leverage several assets when they effectively serve their immigrant population, further bolstering community vitality. If your community doesn't have a lot of newcomers, that's okay. Preparing for newcomer needs complements service provision for all residents. Expanding the tax space is always important and appealing. Thus, attracting and retaining residents is critical. Every new person, whether immigrant or not, needs to adapt to their community. But effective retention requires communities also to adapt. The community needs to be attractive enough, serving resident needs well enough, that people don't eventually get drawn away to other places. We can't control all the reasons why people leave. Sometimes people find a better job elsewhere, or they want to be closer to their ethnic community. But we do want to give our communities a fighting chance to retain valuable human capital. The if you build it, they will come approach is best. Newcomers settle in more easily when we prepare for them. However, if your community has received an influx of immigrants and you don't feel quite prepared, that's perfectly fine. It's never too late to start. And truthfully, you can never anticipate every need anyways. So here is a quick overview. On paper, welcoming newcomers looks simple. In real life, it's messy, iterative work that requires perseverance, attention to detail, ongoing learning, and a lot of resilience. These 4 steps are important, but they don't form a cut and dried step-by-step process. Over to you, Jide.
Thank you, Delis. As Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you will eat it every time. If we want to successfully welcome newcomers, we need to be intentional. It's a mindset that must be ingrained into a community. A great place to start is municipal leadership and administration. You can think of this mindset as your internal commitment. It requires a broad interpretation of the municipality's role, a recognition that the onus extends beyond things like infrastructure stewardship, economic development, and tax collection. Accepting responsibility for the less tangible elements of community development. UNESCO charges municipalities with the following responsibilities: guiding of public interest, fulfillment of human rights, respecting and promoting diversity. The point is that people are using your services, whether physical infrastructure or the less tangible things. The end goal is quality of life for those people. Yes, it involves economic development and maintaining infrastructure, but don't let these elements eclipse the underlying vision for human services. The mindsets consist of the individual and collective values of those who make up the municipal team. Now you need to take it from an internal commitment to an external one. Some ways to do that are: incorporate your commitment to human services and newcomer engagement right into strategic plan. Joining a coalition can help you steer the course. Some examples of this are a LEAP, which we'll soon describe to you, or the Canadian Coalition of Municipalities Against Racism and Discrimination. Proclamations, of course, are another way to solidify commitments. The planning step is more likely to take a meandering path than to follow a strict consecutive progression. Good planning will involve some of these elements. Get educated. Invest in understanding the importance of newcomer integration. Increase your cultural competence on a personal, organization, and community level. Perform assessments and evaluation on your community strengths and weaknesses. This can be formal research projects or can be done more informally. Later, we will suggest frameworks you might use. Develop a plan of action and incorporate it into your strategic plan. Keep in mind, even the steps you don't do alone, there's great value in collaboration. You are definitely not alone in this work, and in fact, it's impossible to tackle it alone. You must find your allies, foster those relationships until they become partners, and then champion your partners and rely on them. I'll hand it back to Dalis now.
Dalis, sorry, you're just muted still.
Yep, I was talking to myself. Okay, let's try that differently. Thanks. So collaboration takes many forms, but today we will focus on a key initiative to support communities in welcoming newcomers. This is known as the Local Immigration Partnership, LIP for short. In Saskatchewan, there are 6 LIPs. Regina and Saskatoon each have one. And then there are 4 regional LIPs, Swift Current, Humboldt, Yorkton, and us. We are the LIP in Moose Jaw region, known as Prairie Skies Integration Network. On the left, you have a very general theory of change concept for a LIP. On the right, you see a sample of entities that might partner to form a LIP. Oh, and at least on my view, it looks pretty small, but you'll see things like, the education sector and community members and newcomers themselves, community development organizations, really the whole range of different bodies that exist within a community. So what exactly is a LIP? The LIP model was created and funded by the federal government, and there are now more than 80 LIPs across Canada. Many organizations provide services directly to newcomers. A LIP, however, serves newcomers indirectly. Known as indirect services, we exist to support communities and their agencies in adapting to the presence of newcomers. LIPs operate as a partnership-based network, as you can see in the image. Whether or not you have a LIP in your region, it's important to also pursue other opportunities for partnership. Now, if you don't have a LIP, you could initiate the LIP in your region. LIPs are hosted by municipalities, economic development organizations, settlement agencies, or other nonprofits. We're going to share a link for you it's the National LIP Secretariat website. And there you can learn a bit more about LIPs, and you can even find where different LIPs are located. So I think we'll be able to share that in the chat. So yeah, I think I can share that in the chat just now. The goal is tangible community change. This happens through the implementation step. We're going to talk a bit about Prairie Skies' process for implementing plans, and then we will give the floor to Ariel to share some municipal specific examples with us. Okay, so this is Prairie Skies' common agenda. It forms the basis for our collaborative action plans. We have working groups through which we implement projects and activities, and it's always, changing over time, but the 4 we're focusing on right now, our newcomer employment and economic inclusion working group, our regional coordination working group, our research working group, and an anti-discrimination working group. If you're located in our region, we would love to meet you and discuss partnering with you. For now, over to Ariel.
Hi, everyone. I am the Economic Development Officer for the town of Gravelbourg. If you haven't heard of Gravelbourg, we're about an hour south of Moose Jaw or Swift Current and about an hour and 45 away from Regina. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Gravelbourg's unique position as a community. We, many of our newcomers these days and over the past 2 years have been are connected to educational institutions. So as a small community, this gives us a really unique opportunity to retain temporary residents and the privilege of providing community for international youth. We also have a significant manufacturing business and a regional hospital that also has staffing needs. So resident recruitment and retention is essential for small communities to thrive. And healthy and thriving communities are essential to economic development. If people don't feel a connection to your community, they have no reason to stay. So how can we create a welcoming community for our newcomers? So my advice is to start where you are. Whether you have a handful of newcomers or you're expecting an influx of newcomers, start where you are. Everything counts. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, but collaboration, as we've mentioned, is key. You have to connect with the other services and groups in your community, in your region. So one thing that a municipality can do, and that we are trying to do, and these are all works in progress, but is creating a sort of one-stop shopping for our residents so that they are aware of all the resources in our community, all the businesses and services, and able to get all the information they need to set up house here, etc. We've also revived an old concept, the welcome bag. This used to be done by community volunteers, but it's now done out of my office, and that just provides new residents with an opportunity to connect to businesses. It's full of coupons. It's got the Gravelburg guidebook, which lets them know everything, how to acquire everything Gravelburg and all of its services, and it just makes residents feel welcome and informed about your small community. Lastly, a community can provide opportunities for connection and community building. So one initiative that we've had is to have the Community Expo. So for the past 2 years, we've invited all the service groups, like all the community-based organizations, as well as community service-based businesses, to come and have an expo and just let the community know what they have. And it's been a great opportunity for community groups to connect with each other and for new residents to learn about all the things available in Gravelburg. So again, critical partnerships. Essential. Working with Prairie Skies has given me a great opportunity to connect with other municipalities and to acquire resources that have helped me develop my own approach to newcomer, creating a welcoming community here in Gravelburg. And another really essential thing specific to Gravelburg is that we've been able to connect with welcoming Francophone communities. They are doing great work in Gravelburg to create events. And it's a Canada-wide program, a federal program to help Francophone newcomers, but it's just they're so good at promoting their events and getting participation, and so part of my work is working with them and helping to promote their efforts and work with other community-based organizations to connect newcomers to services. For example, here we have the Gravelburg Care Shuttle Service, which has made some inroads into connecting their services with newcomers to get them to wellness appointments and medical appointments outside of Gravelburg. Also connect with your employers. It's really important to connect and collaborate with them and understand what their needs and challenges are so that you can help the municipality better meet those needs and challenges so that they can have success with their newcomer employees. And of course, you need to connect with the newcomer community itself and find out what their needs are and what kinds of experiences they want and how you can improve your municipality. So a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration. So moving on, I'll just get to the challenges and we'll get those out of the way. So number one, I think housing, that's a challenge to all of us, especially as it relates to newcomer employment. If your newcomer doesn't have a place to live, they can't stay. Finding appropriate housing is a huge challenge. As is transportation. We all know that in a small town, you kind of need a car to survive, and that may not be something that newcomers are familiar with. So connection with services. And finally, capacity building. You may not have an economic development officer, a community development officer. So you need somebody to sort of pathfind and coordinate a lot of this work. So that can be a challenge, especially for a smaller town there. So successes in Gravelburg specifically, again, with the educational institutions, this has been a wonderful boom for us and a huge economic opportunity. So our College Mathieu and our École Mathieu, which was a post-secondary institution as well as a high school program, they currently together have about 50 international students attending their programs. And they're expected to reach their capacity, essentially doubling or more those numbers in 2024. So this is a great success, but it also presents some opportunities and goals that we need to meet to accommodate this population increase. another great example is just, staying connected with these institutions, right? So because we have ties with the college and we have those connections, the town itself hired a wonderful student from Togo, and he became the Zamboni driver, having the most Canadian job like ever. And he's been a huge advocate and like promoter of our community with the other students. And so that's been really great. And our ESL courses are at capacity right now. So having language programs in your community also a great asset. Ours are offered by Great Plains College. So finally, I'll wrap this up. Hopefully I haven't gone too much over time, but there are lots of opportunities in your community that you have right now, like volunteering. That was one thing I heard when I talked to our newcomers and our employers and our groups, was that newcomers are looking for opportunities to volunteer, to practice language skills, and also for community integration. They're also really looking for low-cost events, like affordable events, clubs and organizations to join. So again, connecting that information and providing those pathways. And finally, there's a great opportunity to connect those who are retiring from business with newcomers who would like to start businesses in Canada. So there's a great opportunity for succession planning. Anyway, that's my overview. I'll pass it back to Delise.
Thanks, Ariel, for highlighting some of those excellent initiatives in your community. Earlier, we mentioned that there are several frameworks you could use to assess your community's readiness to integrate newcomers. We're going to be sharing some of them with you in the chat. And yeah, thank you. So if you look through the charts, those are some of the toolkits you can make use of. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Ariel, Jide, and Elise for that wonderful presentation. I apologize. I wasn't sure if Ariel is already on board, so I was not able to introduce her. So I'd like to say something about Ariel before I introduce the rest of the panelists. So Ariel uses her passion for community building and collaboration to fuel her work. After graduating from the University of Regina, Ariel spent 5 years teaching English as a second language in South Korea, and has traveled extensively in North and Southeast Asia. She moved to Gravelbourg in 2009 to raise a family and quickly learned the importance of volunteer work to small town living. Ariel has served on multiple nonprofit boards over the years, including the Gravelbourg Play and Learn Daycare, the Gravelbourg and District Early Childhood Coalition, and the Renaissance Gaiety Theater. She is a founding member of the Gravelbourg Artisan Cooperative, where she plays a key role in the organization of various events and public art projects. We are also very fortunate that we have April Phillips, SUMA Director for the Northeast Region and Councillor for the City of Melfort, with us today. April is serving her third term on Melfort City Council, first elected in 2012 and re-elected in 2016 and 2020. In the past 8 years, April has served on numerous boards and committees, including Chair of Legislative and Finance Committees, Chair of Community Services Committee, Vice Chair of Wapiti Regional Library Executive Board, member of the Melfort Public Library Board and Beautification Committee. April's past work experience includes 15 years at the Melfort Journal in numerous positions, followed by 7 years with Riverside, Arctic Cat and RV, and Riverside Chrysler Dodge in Melfort. April believes the strength of a community is their citizens. Volunteering, supporting local business and local community organizations, together with good governance, makes a vibrant and strong community. Another panelist is Anthony Olushola. Anthony is the Executive Director of Truly Alive Youth and Family Foundation, a Saskatoon-based Block-led registered charity that provides support services for youth and families, most notably to newcomers and racialized ethnic minority residents of Greater Saskatoon Metropolis. Anthony feels deeply about giving back to his community, culturally and civically. His multifaceted approach to leadership is a testament to his belief in building up others so everyone can achieve individual and collective goals. Anthony is the convener of Saskatoon Black Canadian Alliance Network, comprising membership across Saskatoon Afro-Caribbean communities, with a view to showcasing Black excellence and advancing intentional inclusion and participation of persons of Black descent in the overall socioeconomic fabric of the greater Saskatoon metropolis. A lifelong learner, Anthony's educational background includes post-secondary degrees in education, political science studies and governance, business administration. Anthony also holds an area of professional development certifications and competencies in executive management, business development strategy, project management professional, labor management relations certification, and more. It is safe to say that Anthony is committed to applying his personal attributes as well as his personal expertise acquired from living and working abroad to the growth of Saskatchewan and Canada in general. He is also a recipient of Queen Elizabeth Platinum Medal. So, general questions to all our panelists. In today's globalized world, municipalities play a crucial role in welcoming, integrating, and retaining newcomers. Can you share examples of successful strategies that you think municipalities have used or should use to create an inclusive environment for newcomers and ensure their integration into the community? April, do you want to start?
Sure, thanks, lovely. I'm honored to be here today and talking about this with our communities. It's very exciting, and I have a lot of thoughts that are going through my head as I was listening, but I can relate. I apologize, I've got a bit of a cold, so I can relate a lot to what Ariel was talking about, and I loved her enthusiasm. But I know in Melfort we find it very wonderful that we're seeing a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different ethnic backgrounds coming to Melfort. And I think one of the things that we can do is just simply reach out and find out what it is that we can do to help. It might be something as simple as connecting them with daycare centers, helping them settle in. So there's many different ways that we can connect with the newcomers to our community. And I think it's just absolutely vital that we do that. It's very exciting. And our citizens learn so much from the new different cultures that are surrounding us. So we're learning along with them. And I think that's just so important too, that making it welcoming for them, but also for us to learn from them. And it makes for a very wonderful, diverse community. I'll pass it on to someone else.
Well, I think there are a lot of options, approaches that you can take, some more superficial and some go much deeper. It could be anything from calibrating your website to portray your community as a welcoming one, and providing information about the services needed during the settlement journey, hosting special events to observe important themes like welcoming events, anti-racism days, and festivals to connect the community. This is another important piece. A municipality can host or partner in such events. However, I think it's important not to shy away from the deeper work, like reviewing your practices, policies, and bylaws to ensure they're equitable. Engaging newcomers and other marginalized groups in this work is a great way to ensure the sustainability of your community as Canada continues to grow in its diversity. So there's a few ideas.
Question. Oh, sorry. Judy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what Delisa said, that also providing cultural awareness and competency training to the municipals, local government employees, law enforcement and service providers, also to help them get better in understanding and interacting with people from diverse backgrounds. Another one could be establishing mentorship programs where newcomers are paired with local residents who can provide guidance, support, and assistance with integration. So I just wanted to mention those two as well.
Anything from Anthony or Ariel?
Absolutely. Thank you, and happy to be here. That was quite a great introduction of me. Thank you for all of that good work. I'm joining you from 36 territory here in Saskatoon and the traditional homeland of the Métis. I think it's important to first recognize why we do what we do. And I just gave the land acknowledgement in the shorter version of it, but I wouldn't do that if I wasn't, if not for time constraint. To do what we do from a place of knowledge and from a place of readiness to evolve into doing it, as opposed to just checking the box of to give land acknowledgement, let me just read through it. So I'll say one of the ways the municipal government or local democracy can do more in the welcoming of new Canadians. I use more of new Canadians than newcomers because oftentimes people stay newcomer even after 50 years of being here, right? So it's to recognize that why do we do what we do? So when we're celebrating even days, commemoration days, international days, the municipal government should be involved in the planning of it, and the owners of the stories should lead the planning and execution of those events. Without that, we're just playing to the gallery.
Doug Rain just joined the webinar. Doug is employed by the province of Saskatchewan as a director of programs and partnerships in the branch of career services in the Ministry of Immigration and Career Training. As well as coordinating job search and career development services, Doug's team also helps coordinate settlement services for newcomers to the province. He has been with the ministry since 2007 after spending a few years as a consultant and many years leading the Career Center on the University of Saskatchewan campus. He's based in Saskatoon and coordinates a team of 30 staff in career services offices across the province. He's a longtime resident of the province, graduating high school in Moose Jaw and obtaining both his undergraduate and graduate degrees from the University of Saskatchewan. Welcome, Doug. And I have a question for you right off the bat. What are the key priorities and policies that the Ministry of Immigration is currently focusing on to empower municipalities and facilitate the integration of newcomers? How can local government collaborate with your ministry effectively?
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, everybody. And I apologize. Thanks for patience in me maneuvering through Zoom territory to join the webinar today. And it's a great question. And I think you can appreciate it's difficult for me to sort of speak at a certain level about general, priorities and things of government. But what I can tell you is sort of talk about, where we're heading as a ministry, just from a core strategy. And I think municipalities would see how they could fit into that, and because it's pretty simple, actually. Sometimes a challenge to pull off, but our real focus is on, the key pillars of recruit, train, and retain individuals, and that cuts across all aspects of what we do in different areas. So certainly with newcomers, the recruit piece of that really kind of makes some sense, but what we try to focus in, and certainly in our area and through this ministry, is somewhat the training, but really it's retention. I would say probably that's one of our key priorities, and the things that we do through policy and through program development is retention of newcomers and people into the province. And that's really translates from core. From an employment perspective, there's always challenges of recruit and retain, and employers will always say that sometimes retention is more of a challenge, keeping people working and for people keeping working. But really, we have a population that is proven to be very mobile, but the fact that they have come to this province. And that's why we're really putting a lot of efforts onto retention efforts. And how that is, you know, an expansive network of settlement services and, you know, just providing programs and things like that. And what it comes down to is a lot of key communication. There's other aspects perhaps coming on the questions. I don't want to get too far, but I think for us, you know, our key focus, which I think would resonate with around the province and different municipalities, is, you know, once we identify people and we get them interested in coming to Saskatchewan and to our different communities, is then, you know, doing what we can to embrace them and understand cultures and diversity and the value add across the board that individuals bring into our communities, and that will really help with retention efforts. And then we try to bring some different programs and options to support that, so that people don't feel that they have to maybe look elsewhere. So I would say that's sort of a quick answer in terms of some things that we're trying to look at from a policy perspective.
Thank you, Doug. We have a question from our participants here. So how do you navigate the boundaries of accommodation or making communities structured to meet the needs of the newcomers, and assimilation or communicating what communities expect from newcomers?
Well, I think it's a pretty loaded question, and I would say, you know, what it comes down to is, and I'm going to be repetitive probably in every answer I provide, is it really stems from an effective network, in that it's really hard to create success and have success in isolation. So whether that's, you know, someone like myself sitting in an office in Saskatoon and trying to support somebody who's maybe decided to, you know, come to Swift Current, you know, in different areas, but it's really about an openness and understanding of needs and wants. What are people looking for, and to help them navigate, you know, if I'm trying to understand the question, trying to understand what it is that's step one through step last and ongoing in terms of the supports and the questions and the needs that they have, which all comes down to, you know, collaboration and working together to understand those, and recognizing, you know, where people have expertise, what is within sort of, I would use the word of my wheelhouse of expertise to support, and what's not, and recognizing that and leaning on others who do have that, and then providing that sort of wraparound kind of service and effort. I'm not sure if that gets to the question. It's a pretty big question, but there's lots of areas, you know, to tie into that.
April, what's your thoughts on the municipal level as a councillor?
Mhm. Well, a couple of things that come to mind. A municipality has the ability to kind of call people together, and something that we've done in the past, and it was prior to COVID and some of the restrictions, but having a welcome day that welcomes everybody that's new to our community. And whether they're immigrants or just new to the community, but getting them into one place so that resources can be shared, and those conversations can happen. And the conversation isn't us telling them what we think they need. It's asking, what can we do to improve your quality of life? And what can we do to help your family adjust in all ways? A lot of times we have professionals that come, and whether it be a doctor or, and they're kind of set up. What we want to do is make sure that their spouse and their children are set up to love the community and to integrate with it. So looking for supports outside of you know, of just the one person coming. Maybe their family's coming, and maybe they have an aging parent. What resources do we have? Or so really listening to them, and just, you know, we also have a registration night that basically takes in all of our service clubs, all of our you know, different volunteering groups, and really inviting them to that, and so that they can choose what interests they have, but it gets them involved in the community. And also they might want to, you know, start up a program that we've never had in Melfort, and give them the opportunity to do that, and teach us something new about a different way of doing stuff. So that's just a few of the things that I think municipalities can do, and hopefully will do more often.
That's wonderful, April. Thank you. So a question for Anthony. You have the privilege of meeting and collaborating with diverse groups of immigrants regularly. Could you share some of the insights and experiences regarding what you are hearing from the immigrant community?
Thank you for that beautiful question. As a community-based charity, we have our ears to the ground. We are indeed the closest to all peoples. And we are the first point of contact when issues bordering on economic upscaling or lack thereof that people are feeling. And the fact that I hope we all agree that a greater percentage of folks coming to Canada may not necessarily access certain services because they have come as economic migrants. But those are the folks who often fall through the cracks, be it that their kids need help, or some are international students and no one's serving them, or folks who even are citizens so far and no longer considered to be eligible for some level of language upskilling, but are still not able to navigate better through the society. So we're hearing all of these issues, and we offer a lot of programs that support individuals and families to feel a sense of not just inclusion, but intentional participation in the life of the community. And it was nice that April talked about quality of life. The quality of life of a society is only as good as the quality of life of the people therein. And unless we have programs and financial opportunity to enhance capacities of organizations that are serving the core people, we will continue to recycle half-done or half-baked group of people. So what we are hearing continues to be from issues of racism that is very endemic, and the lack of readiness for engagement and to discuss these critical issues. We have programs that support Black youth as a Black-led organization, and only when they come here do they then realize, oh, there is a Black executive director, because they haven't seen much of that around. And you look around, we want to thank the city of Saskatoon's mayor because he's a very easily accessible, great gentleman. And we would, as part of our Black History Month, would take the youth there to go and see the city council chamber. And he walked them through and says, I hope someday there's going to be a Black person to be on our wall as our councillor. So you see, there are a lot of issues that more or less reduce immigrants to those who should just come and observe, not necessarily partake. And these are the issues we're looking to redirect, amongst many other things we do. Thanks.
I wish we have a lot of time to discuss immigration in this topic. I'm very passionate about this. So for the last question to everyone, what advice would you offer to local governments seeking to position themselves effectively by implementing best practices in supporting immigrants within their communities?
And I can quickly lead on to that if I'm allowed. I'll say that municipal local democracy in their breath as a government, as well as a corporation, should ensure that they reach out more than wait to be sought after. Because for as long as people are coming into the community, you know who's coming to your community. You know that the city is growing and it's diverse. So diversity is apparent. Inclusion remains debatable. So from the local government office as a corporation to those who are sitting on boards of the city councils and all of that, let's see more diversity there. We can effect change if those who are at the table discussing issues of change don't know the issues that bother those they want to provide a change for. It's that simple.
Director Rain?
I always am honored to follow you, Anthony, so I don't mind going second.
Good to see you, Doug.
I thought about this question, and I think there's a couple things. One is, it goes back to what I talked about is working together, collaboration, resist the urge to duplicate what's already happening, and let's not get repetitive. and leverage on the skills that are there. What I would say for municipalities, and this is what we learned as we welcome displaced Ukrainians into the province, is you know your communities. You can take the best role in terms of being that spokesperson, dare I say salesperson of the community, and being that sort of front facing, piece that doesn't have to do everything, but you create that welcoming environment, that supportive environment, and then lean on those, whether it be us in government or other organizations and our settlement servicing agencies, our local immigration partnerships. I can go on and on. All those people that fit together, be the coordinator, be the leader of the orchestra, so to speak, to sort of bring that together and be the face of the community. Which is really what individuals will see and resonate with. In terms of then wanting them to say, validate, I've made the right choice in this community. I feel welcome here. And back to the retention piece, I think I really want to stay here, and invite others to come to this community. So I think that would be my advice, is sort of be that general contractor, let the rest of us subs do our thing where we're good at, and then you lead that charge and coordinate all of us. And again, like I said, resist that urge to duplicate what is already being done by others. That'd be my sort of advice.
Thank you very much. How about you, Dallas?
Well, I would say start where you are. Don't worry about taking an overly prescribed path. Just take your next step. Engage with your community's organizational assets, engage with your community's people, figure out how you can recruit everybody to the important work of welcoming newcomers and sustaining your community. Definitely reach out to your LIP or any other organization bringing people together to address complex challenges. If your community doesn't seem to have spaces to congregate on this matter, then look for regional support or start something in your community. Maybe you start a LIP in your region. Maybe you start hosting regular town halls to hear your residents' hopes, needs, and ideas. I'm guessing there are residents in your community struggling to have their needs met. It's hard to attract new people to communities with complex challenges, but this is what we must do. We need to become good at inviting and welcoming. We also need to partner to address any lagging quality of life indicators in our communities. Is it transportation? Is it the labor market? Perhaps a lack of social connection opportunities? Or is it food security? Is it our responsibility? Could it be? Maybe not, but how could we support those whose responsibility it is? So unfortunately, that is how it is. You can't attract newcomers to your community by meeting only some of their needs. How can you empower your community to meet all of the needs? So I'm so sorry, if you came in at all looking for easy answers, there just simply aren't any, except to say, again, just start where you are and see where it takes you. I don't think there's any other way to do this work.
Any thoughts, Ariel?
Only to reiterate what everybody said. I mean, that communication and collaboration are essential. And yeah, the municipality's role, a lot of my role is just making connections, going to things, putting things together, and trying to make the connections to serve the needs of the community. And the groups also need to invite the municipality in as well too. So I always encourage people to invite the councillors to come to the event, to come out to whatever it is, and to assist them in making that effort, because not everybody's a handshaker and a super social person who's in government. So sometimes we all need a little bit of encouragement. So there's a lot of that. But yeah, communication and collaboration, top of the list.
Awesome. And G-Day?
Yeah, just to echo what everybody has said, for me, it's all about consultations, right? Just like Ariel said, the services agencies need to, bring in the municipal government to get them involved in what they're doing in welcoming people. Also, whatever decisions that the municipal government is going to make regarding the residents or newcomers, it cannot be done in isolation. They need to bring in all of these partners, come to the table, sit down, collaborate, talk together, and better decisions will be made.
And April?
Well, a couple of things come to mind, but I think, once we get one or two families coming into our community, if they're welcomed and they're feeling like their needs are being met on the most part, they're going to tell other people, and they're going to bring more in, and then that community grows. And something that I've noticed in the last few, well, quite a few things, and I'm so pleased, but our grocery stores in Melfort now carry a lot of ethnic foods that we've never ever seen on our shelves. These are the things that are important. They can feel at home by cooking meals that they're familiar with and introduce us to those new dishes. And you know, another thing that comes to mind is my grandchildren have the opportunity to have wonderful friends from the Philippines and from other countries, where they're getting, you know, there was a short story, but some family members had traveled back to see their grandparents, and they came back with wonderful treats from the Philippines. And my grandchildren they brought their friends over, all these different things that they've never tasted before. And you know, that's something I would have never had the opportunity to do in my life in a small town, Melfort, Saskatchewan. And that's just one example. Kids now are playing cricket. Nobody in our community has ever played cricket. So these are the things that are wonderful for us, and also wonderful and welcoming that newcomers can teach us, and we can learn and do the things that make them feel at home, and make their community that they don't have to have that. Yes, it's nice to have people of the same ethnic background, but that we can integrate and find great friendships and learn their customs and the things they love to do. And I think that will keep them in our community.
I know I've said that was the last question, but there's an interesting question from the chat. Any suggestions for a community who has available housing, most other requirements families need, like schools, recreation, shopping, etc., but there's no employment opportunities? That's a tough question.
What about entrepreneurial? Oh, sorry. What about entrepreneurship, right? I mean, if there's no, I mean, there's always starting a business as well. I don't know. One option. Again, as I mentioned, like succession planning, if there's an existing business, someone might be retiring, someone might be leaving, there's always an opportunity to connect there. That's my idea.
Yeah, and take advantage of the virtual world we have where people can work from home. Their job opportunities don't technically have to originate within your community. That's like my sort of easy answer to your question. And my more difficult answer is call together your community and do a brainstorming session. That's where you will get the most, that's where you'll gain the most.
I just maybe add to that. I mean, this is a really basic question that we get across the board in all size communities, from both, individuals looking for work and employers as well. And it's quite simply, and I'll pick on employers, and when they'll say, well, we can't find people, and we'll say, are you sure? Like, have you looked everywhere? And I would say job seekers and employers tend to have different versions of blinders on, where they'll go, I think I know what I want, but I can't find it, so I guess there's nothing. Well, you have to open up those blinders. And again, I'll pick on employers. You need to start embracing different thinking in terms of diversity hiring and different sorts of things and opportunities that are in front of you. And I would say the same thing for job seekers, for individuals looking for work. Don't just be dismissive of opportunities that you think aren't an opportunity that really could be an opportunity. So I think that'd be the best advice, is to really, turn over every stone and dig deep to see what's there. And then to the point of entrepreneurship, absolutely, like, think about ways that there are different ways to do things. But I think that'd be what I would say.
Just to add to what Doug said, as a newcomer myself, newcomers should never be dismissive of any kind of opportunity that comes, right? It's just a way to, you know, get yourself in, even if it's not exactly what you're looking for, it's always something, right? And of course, it's also advisable to get into volunteering, right? It's a pathway that can help a lot of people. So I just wanted to put that in as well.
And if I can tap to that, while newcomers are taking opportunities that are available in the moment, do not allow yourself to get stuck there. Because oftentimes, startup jobs become stock-up jobs. Believe in your potential, develop yourself, aim higher. You've got to start somewhere. You don't have to stay there forever. And to employers, please don't ever imagine newcomers as people you can give 5 people's jobs just because they're new. I've had some folks share in the employer community, see those newcomers, we like to give them jobs and give them like 3 people's jobs so that they can do that within the first 6 months before they begin to learn more about their rights. And I'm like, how does that make you feel? So if you're an employer here, be human. Those newcomers, they may have such level of resilience. Don't give them what you can do or give to those who are not newcomers or who look differently. They are humans. Believe in their skill sets, tap into it. Intentional diversity in a workplace is the smart way to grow your business. Don't overuse people. And for newcomers, don't settle for less. Believe in yourself.
Thank you so much. We still have a few minutes, so I have one last question, I promise. You guys have mentioned about empowering municipalities often involves collaboration with various stakeholders, including non-governmental organizations, businesses, and local residents. How can municipalities effectively engage these stakeholders to support their efforts in welcoming and integrating newcomers? April, do you guys have any experience?
I'm just trying to process all of that question. I don't, nothing's coming to me at the top of my mind, but I'm thinking that connecting with groups that kind of already have a path is absolutely the way to go. I mean, when we talk about LIP and these different organizations, I think municipalities really need to look into them and see what we can take and learn from them, and also from other communities. And doing what we're doing today, I think, helps, and different work that SUMA is doing. But we're all learning, and I think I know for Melfort, we want to a lot of immigrants that come in, they will stay in the bigger centers for various reasons. And I mean, we touched on transportation and those things, but we have to really get them to see past Regina and Saskatoon and see smaller communities and what we have to offer them. But how do we do that? And, you know, there's a lot of questions around that, but I think really looking at the resources we do have first, seeing if somebody does have the answers, and then working from there.
Any thoughts, April? Sorry, Ariel?
Yeah, I mean, everything April just said is there. I mean, I know that again, I all I can emphasize is that communication, that collaboration. I mean, because I've been involved with Prairie Skies, I've met so many different people involved in this work and different organizations, and maybe been able to talk with other municipal people in my position and counselors and everybody. So that having that connection, and then and being able to be involved in the events in our community and just going to them and sourcing out what's going on. But it's just that connection and collaboration. Again, I don't know what else to say other than talk, communicate, pathfind, make those connections.
Well, my heart is full. We had a wonderful conversation today. We would like to thank all of our presenters and our panelists for joining us, and everybody that has joined the webinar. I hope we've learned something today and be able to share it with our communities. Steph?
Hey, thank you very much, Lovely. And thank you for being here to moderate this session, and to Doug, Delise, Jide, Ariel, Anthony, and April for being panelists and presenting. I really appreciate all of the insights that you provided.